Hello everyone. Today we discuss object-oriented programming concept or principle of object-oriented programming, or also called as objective of object-oriented programming. The object-oriented programming, which is generally depends on class and object, you betterly and known. So one by one we discuss what are the main objective of object oriented programming. First objective is class or principle or concept of objective programming is class. A class is defined such as a way to bind data and associated function together. That means the class in single unit, various data members and various member functions are available and that are bind by a class. So for this reason a class is known as abstract data type. Why it is called as abstract data type? Because it is defined by user and which is treated built-in data type. It is treated like built-in data type, so that it is known as abstract data type. Where class is data type, its variable is called as an object. A class contains a collection of object of similar type. That means a number of object the class will be contained. After discussing class, the second objective or second concept of object oriented programming is called as an object. An object is defined as such as an object are runtime entities which are used at runtime or dynamically. Entities is nothing but which has a specific properties or attribute. A object combine data and procedure. A unit is formed which operate on that data. This unit is called as a object. This unit is called as a object. When program is executed, then object message from one to another. That means object passes messages from one member function to another member function. The object is declared only in main function. That means it is not a member of class, and every member of class is member function of class is accessed by object. After discussing object, the next concept is data abstraction. The data abstraction is defined as such as the collection of data and functions in a class is called as a data abstraction. That means we already defined what is class. The class contain a number of data members and number of member functions, and that collection is called as a data abstraction. So the class binds data and associated function together is called as a data abstraction. And abstraction refers to act of representing essential features without including background details of explanation. So the class is best example of data abstraction. After discussion of data abstraction, the next objective is data encapsulation. Here we known that the capsule is uh, treated or name suggested that tablet, that is it contain various contents, and that content is bind into one unit which is known as a capsule. In similar way, in C++, data encapsulation is defined as the wrapping of data and code, that is function, into a single unit, that is class, is called as a data encapsulation. Those function are accessible is wrapped in a function. So data encapsulation and your data heading both are in similar way is same. Data heading is defined as data heading is a software development technique which specifically used for object-oriented programming to hide internal object details. That is, internal data members is hidden whenever an external function is accessed. That means a member function which contain a data member that is accessible, that only that member function, and whenever external function is accessed, then data is hidden. Then again, next objective is polymorphism. The polymorphism is to take the ability to take more than one form is called as a polymorphism. And there are two types of polymorphism: compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism. And similar way, the name suggested that compile time polymorphism, which is achieved by function overload and operator overload, and runtime polymorphism, which is achieved by virtual function. So that function overload, operator overload, virtual function are example of polymorphism. Then next objective of OOPS is inheritance. The inheritance is a mechanism of deriving a new class from base class is called as a inheritance. And inheritance support reusability. That means you used old features in new advanced feature. In that means you will be used a old feature in whenever you will be extend it into new form, that is advanced form, then you used that old function into the new advanced function, that is old feature as well as new advanced feature is binded into two classes, base class and derived class, so that it is known as a mechanism of deriving a new class from base class. And there are five types of inheritance: single inheritance, multiple inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, hybrid inheritance. Then last objective of OOPS concept is message passing. In object, we will be defined this thing, and also I will be explain here. The message passing is a technique by which objects send and receive messages one to another. Message is request for external procedure, and object passes message from one to another. Thus, we discuss the 8 objective or principles of object-oriented programming. Thus, the object-oriented programming is dependent on this objective or principle. Then after discussing object-oriented concept, here we have a detailed explanation of data abstraction. In last discussion, I tell that the data abstraction is related to the class, and class is a single unit. That single unit where a number of multiple members and member functions are binded, that is called a single unit, is called as abstraction. So it is defined as data abstraction. Data abstraction refers to providing only essential information about the data to the outside world and hiding the background detail or implementation. How data abstraction is achieved? Data abstraction can be achieved using classes. In last discussion, I have told that a class binds data and associated function, and that binding is known as abstraction. A class is used to group all the data member and member function into single unit by using access specifier. Here access specifier are public, private or protected. Any one type you will be specify it. A class has a responsibility to determine which data member is to be visible outside and which is not. So in real life, uh, in real life, the abstraction, data abstraction example is called as a ATM machine is the best example of data abstraction in real life example. because in ATM will be performing all operation such like cash withdrawal, money transfer, retrieve, mini statement, etc. But we cannot know internal details about ATM, how the procedure is followed, what are the mechanism is used. So it is best example of data abstraction in real life. Then after discussing the data abstraction, the next thing is encapsulation. The encapsulation is defined as binding together the data and the function that manipulates. That means a binding of data and binding of member function into single unit is class, and class is a single unit of encapsulation. In C++, class perform data encapsulation because it binds and associated function. It binds data and associated function together into single unit. And what is difference in between data hiding and data encapsulation is defined in four things. The whenever we consider the basic comparison, then data hiding is defined as data hiding concern about data security along with hiding complexity, while encapsulation concern about wrapping data hide the complexity of the system. Then whenever we consider a comparison as a focus, that what focus or what impact in data hiding or encapsulation. In data hiding, the data hiding focuses on restricting or permitting the use of data inside the capsule, and in encapsulation focuses on enveloping or wrapping complex data. Then basic comparison point is as a specifier, that is public, private, protected. Whenever it is used in data hiding and in encapsulation, what happen? In data hiding, the data under data hiding is always private inaccessible. That means private as a specifier is inaccessible in data hiding. That is private member is hide by data hiding. And in encapsulation, the data under encapsulation may be private or public, both are is accessible. And after comparison is considered as a process, then data hiding process is such as data hiding is processes as well as technique, and encapsulation is a sub process in data hiding. Then what do you mean by object based programming and object oriented programming language, and what are the relationship between them? In last discussion we known that the object based programming are those programming which support encapsulation and object identity without support important feature of object oriented programming language such as polymorphism, inheritance, and message based communication. For example, ADA is a object based programming language. Then object oriented programming language is defined such as it incorporates all feature of object based programming. That means it support object based programming as well as its new concept inheritance and polymorphism is also added, so that C++ and Smalltalk is example of object oriented programming language. Here the C++ is not pure object oriented programming language. What I can tell, a C++ language is not a pure object oriented programming language. It is middle like language because it have not a best supportive feature of a object oriented concept, but a Smalltalk and your Java is pure object oriented programming language. What is the relationship between object based and object oriented programming language? The object based programming language is defined as encapsulation plus object identity. That means object based programming language provide two features, encapsulation and object identity. That means object identity is identified, that is object is of which class is identity. Object oriented programming language is known as object based feature plus inheritance plus polymorphism. That means it have feature of object based as well as inheritance as well as polymorphism. Thus student, we discuss here concept or principle of object oriented programming, how data abstraction and what are the real life application or real life example of data encapsulation, and also we discuss data abstraction and its real life examples, and also difference between data hiding and encapsulation, and lastly we discuss object based programming and object oriented programming. I hope you all things are understand. So I will thank you for very much for watching my video, and if you like, then like or share it. Thank you.